Hey, welcome back. So far in this lesson, we've been hard at work getting Exchange up and running. And so far, we've deployed two mailbox servers and an edge transport server. That's pretty good. What I want to do now is I want to turn my attention to the management tools. Specifically, in this video, I want to show you a management tool called the Exchange Management Shell. Now, the Exchange Management Shell is an extension to Windows PowerShell. You have all of the basic Windows PowerShell commandlets at your disposal, but there are also a number of Exchange server specific commandlets as well. So I'll be showing you what that looks like. The other thing that I want to do in this video is finish the process of getting our Edge server ready to use. Because as I mentioned at the end of the last video, we need to set up something called an Edge subscription. And the way that you do that is through the Exchange Management Shell. So I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone and show you the Exchange Management Shell and show you how to set up an Edge subscription all at once. So let's go ahead and get started. So right now I'm on my mailbox server, the EXCH1 server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Start button, and I'm going to click on this down arrow, and as I scroll over, you can see that we have a section right here called Exchange Server 2016, and we have a few different things that were installed by default. We have the Exchange Administrative Center, which I'll be talking about in the next video. We have the Exchange Management Shell, Exchange Server Help, and the Exchange Toolbox. So for right now, the Exchange Management Shell is what I'm really interested in. Now, one thing that I would recommend doing is pinning this to the Start menu because it can be a little tedious to go out here to the apps and get it that way every single time because you tend to use this a lot. So I'm just going to right click on this and I'm going to say Pin to Start, and that's going to add it to our Start menu. So let me go ahead and open this. I'm just going to click on this, and it takes just a minute for the Exchange Management Shell to come up because, as I said, this is an extension to PowerShell. So Windows PowerShell has to load, plus all the Exchange specific add-ins have to load as well. But in this case, it came up pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by clearing the screen just by typing the CLS command. That's going to clear the screen for us just to reduce a little bit of the clutter. And now let's go ahead and get started. Now, as you'll recall, we set up an Edge server that exists in the demilitarized zone, or DMZ, of our network. It's basically at the network perimeter, and its job is to shield the mailbox servers from the internet. So right now I'm on a mailbox server, and what I want to do is I want to show you one Exchange server specific command, get-exchange server. So I'm just going to type get-exchange server. And what this command does is it shows us the Exchange servers that exist within our Exchange organization. So here we have EXCH1, which is what I'm on right now, and EXCH2, that's another mailbox server that we set up. But you'll notice that the Edge server isn't listed, and there's a very good reason for that. Remember, the Edge server is isolated from the rest of the Exchange organization. It's not a member of the same Active Directory domain. Our Exchange mailbox servers aren't aware of the Edge server, and the Edge server isn't aware of our mailbox servers. So we need to establish awareness between the two environments. And the way that you do that is with an Edge subscription. So an Edge subscription is the mechanism that makes the mailbox servers aware of the Edge server and vice versa. So how do we set up an Edge subscription? Well, it's a two-step process. There's an Exchange Management Shell commandlet that we have to run on the Edge server, and that commandlet is going to create a file. And then we take that file and we move it off of the Edge server and onto a mailbox server, and we run another commandlet in the Exchange Management Shell, and that imports that file and establishes our Edge subscription. Then we start an Edge synchronization, and the Edge server's directory synchronizes with the Active Directory and downloads the required pieces of information, and then everything's ready to use. Now, I realize that sounds like a lot, but the process really isn't all that difficult. So let me show you how this works. So here's the command that we have to run on our Edge server. It's pretty simple. We're going to type new-edge subscription, and then we're going to use the -file name switch, and we're going to follow that with the path and the file name that we want to use. In this case, I'm going to use c:/data/edge subscription info.xml, but you could really use any path and file name that you want. So with that said, let me go ahead and switch over to my Edge server, and we'll make this happen. So here I am on the Edge server, and I'm going to go ahead and open up the Exchange Management Shell, and I'll go ahead and pin this to the Start. Okay, so I'm going to type the cd / command, and that's going to drop me down to the root directory. And if I do a dir to see the system directory, we can see that the data folder where I'm going to put the Edge subscription info.xml file doesn't exist, so we need to create it. Now that's easy enough to do. I'm just going to type MD, that stands for make directory, and then data, and press enter. And if I type dir again, our data folder exists. So now we can create the Edge subscription file. So to do that, I'm just going to type new -edge subscription, and then dash file name, and then quotation marks c:/data/edge subscription info.xml, quotation marks, and enter. And that's going to create my Edge subscription file. So now I'm prompted as to whether or not I want to create an Edge subscription. I'm going to choose yes and press enter. And now the file's been created. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the Exchange Management shell, and I'm going to open up File Explorer. And I'm going to go into C and Data, and here we can see the file, and I'll just open that up with Notepad so that you can see what it looks like. So as you can see, this is just a basic XML file. Nothing fancy going on here aside from a weird font that seems to be the norm for Exchange Server. So I'll go ahead and close this out. Now we need to move this file over to a Mailbox server. And I'm talking about a move, not a copy, because remember, this file is used to establish an Edge subscription. So we don't want to leave it hanging around on this server where a hacker could get a hold of it and establish their own Edge subscription. So I'm going to move this over to a Mailbox server. I'm going to pause the video while I do that, and then we'll pick it up on the Mailbox server, and I'll show you how to import this file and finish making your Edge subscription. So as you can see, there's quite a bit more that we have to do on the Mailbox server than what we had to do on the Edge server. There are 4 commands that we're going to be using. The first of those commands is get-80 site. Now what this command does is it retrieves the name of the Active Directory site. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're going to need that site name when we create the Edge subscription. Now the next command is the command that actually creates the Edge subscription, and that command is new-edge subscription. Now you can see that there are a lot of switches and things that get used with that, but there are really only 2 that are important. The first one is -path, and then you can see that I'm using c:/data edge subscription info.xml. So this is the same file that I created on the Edge server, but I moved that file over to my Mailbox server. Now the other switch that I wanted to point out is the site switch right here. And you'll notice that the site switch is followed by the site name. The site name is what we get by running the get-80 site commandlet. So when I run this command, this is going to create the Edge subscription. So the next thing that I want to do is use the get-exchange server commandlet. You saw how that commandlet works earlier. It lists all of the Exchange servers in our organization. By running that commandlet, I should be able to confirm that Exchange is now able to see the Edge server. And then the last step in the process is to start the Edge synchronization. I need to point out that that has to be done from the Mailbox server. You can't run this command on the Edge server. So we've got 4 commands to run. Let me switch over to my Mailbox server and we'll get it done. Okay, so here I am back on the Mailbox server, and I'm going to start out by retrieving the Active Directory site name. So I'm going to do that by typing get-80 site, and we can see that the site name is default first site name. So now we can begin creating our Edge subscription. So I'm going to type new-edge subscription -file data, and then parentheses, bracket, byte, bracket, 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 $, open parentheses, get-content, then -path, quotation mark, c:/data/edge subscription info.xml, quotation marks, space -encoding, byte, space -read count 0, parentheses, parentheses, -site, quotation marks, default -first -site -name, and that's the same site name that we retrieved with the previous command, as you can see right here. And hopefully I haven't made any typos. I'll press enter. So we can see that the Edge subscription is being created, and we receive a warning basically saying that we need to be able to resolve the IP address for e2k16edge.posydemo.com from our Mailbox servers. So that shouldn't be a problem. And the process is complete. Now, admittedly, that is one big long command. Typically, you're not going to have to worry about memorizing that command unless you're taking an Exchange Server certification exam. If you are taking a certification exam, Microsoft will probably expect you to know that command. But if you're not, then creating an Edge subscription isn't one of those things that you generally do every day. So it's generally safe to look up the command as opposed to committing this to memory. So now that the Edge subscription has been created, I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen just to reduce the clutter a bit. Now, there are two things that we need to do. First of all, we need to make sure that our Edge server is visible from our Mailbox server. And the way that I'm going to do that is by just typing get-exchange server. You saw this command earlier. And now we have 3 Exchange servers visible. Keep in mind that this isn't the same as pinging those servers. This doesn't verify that the Mailbox server can physically communicate with the Edge server. It just shows that the Active Directory is aware of all 3 of our Exchange servers. So then the next thing that we have to do is to start an Edge synchronization. So to do that, I'm just going to type start -edge synchronization, and I'll press enter, and that will manually begin the synchronization process, which can take a little while if you have a large Exchange server organization. So that's how you go about setting up an Edge subscription between a Mailbox server and your Edge server. Now, keep in mind, I've got multiple Mailbox servers, but I only have to create a single Edge subscription. I don't have to do this for each and every Mailbox server. So that's it for this video. In the next video, I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you Exchange Server's graphical management tool, the Exchange Admin Center.